I'm Sally Chibuzie, owner and founder of the brand Unshakable. You know the motto by now. Unshakable is a state of mind. Take your state of mind with you everywhere you go. Be unshakable, be in truth with yourself, love yourself. Today I thought I'd do something a little bit random and I'd give a little bit of a recap of what I've been doing, and then we'll take it from there. I do have something specific to talk about, so we get to that in a minute. So over the last few weeks, I've been fully engaged in a series on friendship groups. So two of those friendship group episodes were based on this challenge that I did. So the first one, we got together because we were runners, and that was the attraction. And then within that group, we have kind of subgroups and we have individual friendships. As it happens, you know what I mean? In each friendship group, we can't all be equally yoked. Do you know what I mean? Even when a group of people who have similar interests come together, there will always be people within that group who are more should I say, more suited to each other in terms of, you know what I mean. Can't find the words this morning. Please make it up for me. And for the second one was made up of a group of friends I have, and we're all in this friendship group as well, this Fit Fam group, mainly for fitness, obviously, like different versions of it. So I think of the four of us, three of us were obsessive runners. Two of us had done the London Marathon together. But again, within that, we also have friendship groups in other circles. So this particular group, we're all kind of interconnected. And, I think we are kind of like neighborhood friends, if that makes sense. So there's another one upcoming from when I went to Houston and I met up with my childhood friends. So I think that's the longest friendship group that I've actually had. People that I've definitely known since I was 3 years old, four of us. And so I did a podcast on it with one of them. So Foxy, that was quite nice. That one hasn't come out yet. I think that will be due out next week. Well, and the one that came out last week, the podcast episode that came out last week was with my secondary school friends. And that one was so wholesome as well. Some of them I've known since I was 3 years old as well. Just talked about what it was like transitioning from childhood to adulthood and still being friends, supporting each other. So I think my question to you is this. In terms of friendship groups, do you have an attachment to friends you've made later on in life, or are you more fond of and a fan of childhood friends? So I have so many circles of friends. It's just me. Someone referred to me as a professional friend. I know so many people and just end up in little clusters, each one of them beautiful. So from my childhood friends, I think I find that a lot of them are like siblings to me. So we can fight, we can make up, we can count on each other for support. I do have childhood friendship groups. Some are closer than others, if that makes sense. The people that you can rely on, you can go to when you have problems. They understand you so well because, they've been intrinsically linked to your life for like forever. My fondness to the friends that I've made later on in life, where I've been more mature and able to truly choose for myself, the beauty is we've always come together for a reason. Do you know what I mean? So I have friendship groups with people born out of my love for running, for example. Friendship groups born out of my love for writing. And then, because our school kids went to school together, and then we found each other there and then became friends. And neighborhood friends, people who live in the area. I live in Watford, so I have my friends, Paula, Dawn, Kelly, God bless her soul, just people who I would typically be found in a pub with or in town with or having coffee with in the neighborhood, there's that. And then, so basically that's kind of like the way it happens for me. I'm quite keen to hear your thoughts on, the friendship groups you have and which ones you're more fond of than others. My actual conversation today. So a lot of the groups have supported me. I've been humbled by the love that I've received. So for for most of my friends, when I've asked, would you podcast with me, even people who are uncomfortable with the idea have said, oh, okay, I've never done it before, I'm not quite sure. They've done it anyway, so I have felt the love. I felt encouraged by this to go on, so I'm really thankful for that, because no man is an island, right? You can't do things on your own. Of things that we do in life require some sort of support or the other. So I can't say that I haven't had that. I definitely have, for which I am truly grateful. So I wanted to talk about the foundation of Unshakable, if you like, and go a little bit personal with it. So I write a weekly column for this magazine called The Wheel Downtown. It's a Sunday thing I look forward to. It's the first thing I see when I wake up on Sunday morning. And today is no exception. Well, today's Sunday. I don't know. You're probably watching this on a Monday or Friday, depending on the social media scheduling. Today's article is quite interesting. So basically what I've done with these articles is I've followed the letters of the alphabet. So it started from A. So A is for this, so that, the others. P was for perception, R was for retirement, S was for solitude, T was for talent. And I only know this because obviously these are the last few ones that I've written. Q was for quirks. And then K was kintsugi. Don't know why I'm telling you all this, but I'll put the link on if you wanted to have a look at them. See what you think. These are my 3 a.m. musings that I just put into them. So U is for unshakable. Actually, I was talking to my friend Tian on the phone the other day. She's in Miami. I have to podcast with her really soon, actually. I'd love to. I was talking to her on the phone and I said to her, she was saying to me that S is for solitude. That was her favorite one, and she was talking to me about her plans to go to Lisbon on a solitude retreat, which she tends to do from time to time. I actually did pick up the idea of solitude from her, not to write the article, actual solitude. So when I do it, it reminds me of her when I feel the need to isolate myself, which I do from time to time. But also when I do yoga randomly, I think it's because she used to she used to be a yoga instructor, and B, because she's very calm actually in the way she speaks, and like her demeanor is quite soothing. But anyway, I was talking to Tian about the article. She called me to tell me she'd read the one about solitude and she resonated, and I was like, duh, of course you did. This is it's your thing, And I was saying to her, coming up next week is you. And for the life of me, I can't think of the word for you. And she was like, are you serious? Are you mad? You is for unshakable, silly. And I was like, oh yeah. And I said, perhaps I didn't think about it that way because it's really predictable, And, I said, what about unique? What about that? She was like, no, I think it has to be unshakable. So I went for it. So there I was sitting down with my coffee. No, actually, what was I drinking that night? Because it was the middle of the night. It wasn't coffee. Or it was coffee, actually. It was decaf coffee. It was middle of the night and I was like, pen to paper, like where to begin, because this word unshakable, yes, it's my brand, and yes, it's a state of mind, but how do you explain a state of mind on paper, much less condense it into 700 words? And then I just randomly, put something together. And the skeleton, it made sense. So I finished it and I just thought, oh my goodness, like this is so personal and out there, but I went with it anyway. So that's what I've got open here right now. And I thought I'd break it down and I'd talk about it. So what I'll do is I'll put the link on so that you can read through it seamlessly and not the way that I'm going to, because I think I'm going to break it down. So I've started this article by saying that, yes, it's predictable. I think that in this case, that the predictability of the word unshakable as my chosen word for you is acceptable and understandable. So, yeah, I went with it. And I start by saying unshakable is a word that stands on its own. It's a force, a vibe, an attitude, a lifestyle, a state of mind. And I think that's apt. So I don't think that needs any explanation. You get it, right? Like you're just, if you're unshakable, by virtue of a number of characteristics which I have gone through in my weekly articles, but also I've gone through it in my podcast as well, and it's just in my lifestyle. So I think that over the years I've spoken about unshakable extensively in at public events, randomly at dinner where people ask me about it, or even well that's the basis of starting the podcast as well, right? So we know what unshakable means. So unshakable is all of those synonyms that I've ascribed to it, but we sometimes don't talk about what isn't unshakable. So unshakable isn't perfection. So there's no requirement to be perfect. However you are, present yourself, just put your best foot forward. It's more about your inwardness, like what's going on, what you project from the inside out. I think is what makes you unshakable is the things that you've gone through, your trials and tribulations, the fact that you're still standing. So I use a lot of fun phrases and words like kintsugi. That's a Japanese phrase for the things that were meant to break you end up making you stronger. I often think about it also as throwing seeds into broken rocks and seeing what emerges. So an unshakable seed will make it through in spite of no sunlight, no water. Do you know what I mean? The requirements for a plant, and they still make it through anyway. I think that's kind of like the idea of unshakable. It's kind of like you doing your own thing, regardless of what the world thinks about it. So I was saying to my daughter that this headband, for example, I said, I like it a lot. She bought it for me, actually. I like it a lot, but I sometimes I just thought, gosh, do you not look like an old woman when you wear it? And she wore it out because we're twinning with this one. She bought one for herself as well. So she wore it out the other day, and I thought, okay, so she's wearing it. She's 19. If she's wearing it, then the Gen Zs approve, right? So I said this to her, I was like, Amy, my headband, I wasn't sure, but I saw you wore it out the other day, and that's giving me renewed confidence. And she was like, do you know what, mother? Sometimes you just need to do what you want and not worry about the trends. So I wear it not because I think it's trendy, but because I like it. And I was like, oh my goodness, this sounds like the kind of thing I would say. And here I was thinking about trends and stuff like that. You know what I mean? It was a proud moment for me, by the way. But also, yes, that is being unshakable. You standing in your own truth and starting your own trend, actually. So, who knows? People might take a fashion tip from me and start to wear them. Who knows? I read somewhere that animal print is kind of dated now, but yeah, anyway, I digress. So I split up the column into various headings because it was very hard to put all of it together. So I'm just going to tell you the way it is. I think do you mind if I just read it out, like bits of it, and then explain? So I started with the journey to unshakable, right? So I said this. I've walked through the flames of a broken marriage. Let me tell you, leaving is not the easier option. It means grappling with loneliness, starting over, and becoming the star of someone else's soap opera. Suddenly, the world morphs into court of judges, jurors, and executioners, each armed with their unsolicited, I would have done it differently script. I think the one that grates on my brain most is you should have stayed for the sake of the kids. And I said this one is a separate article, one that the world isn't fully prepared for just yet. And I said then there were the missteps, falling into vulnerability, traps by vultures, kissing frogs while seeking a fairy tale prince, and wrestling with self-esteem weighed down by invisible baggage. Do you know how many you are not good enough, you are used goods battles I fought in front of the mirror and won? Yeah. So basically, when my kids were younger, right up to when they were, well, from time to time, in this journey to being unshakable, you fall by the wayside, right? Unshakable. When I say it doesn't mean perfect. It means that sometimes you will do stupid things. So sometimes I will. For example, I in terms of patterns, I say once in a while I like to have a nice drink. I like whiskey, but I also really like coffee. But I also really like running as coping mechanisms. So sometimes the whiskey will win. I was saying this to my mom the other day, and I think she nearly had a mini heart attack on the phone. Like, Mom, it's not that serious, all right? I'm not, I'm not an alcoholic, and I'm not battling or anything like that. But I do like a drink, and I do like a drink. At certain points, I like it celebrating with my friends, hanging out, and things like that. But I also do enjoy a quiet moment with myself, like inward. When I was writing Silent Symphonies, for example, a lot of the content was over whiskey, or I think at that time I was more of a brandy kind of girl. I liked Remy Martin. Now, yeah, various versions of Glen might do it for me, Anyway, sometimes you fall more into like the whiskey thing. So I tend to myself pick myself out of that, up the floor, out of that, and and I'm like, Sally, this is why you have running as a coping mechanism. So my own personal battle is always to try and tilt the coping mechanisms in favor of the running as opposed to the whiskey, if that makes sense. Do you see what I mean? I don't feel any kind of way saying that I like to have a drink or what have you. I also don't feel some kind of way saying that sometimes I have to make sure that it is controlled, as with everything else in life. I told you this was going to be a vulnerable podcast, right? So vulnerability traps, people tend to prey on, I think, single moms actually in the world, generally men especially. So this is not a man bashing thing. It's a human beings are sometimes like predators. I think we all have a little bit of selfish in us. So we will always go for the things that the things that favor us, the things that we want, and sometimes in doing so we can be a little bit manipulative. So even for something as simple as me trying to convince my friend to have a coffee with me, I will employ all sorts of tactics, sometimes even bordering on emotional blackmail to make it happen. Do you know what I mean? It's not that deep, but I'm just kind of trying to use that as an example. I don't know if it's an appropriate one, but yeah, we'll leave it at that. But single moms have gaps, in their lives. So there are things that we will grapple with especially when you have younger kids, like loneliness and single income households is what you become ultimately. I think for some, some of them get really, some separations and divorces come with very healthy spousal maintenance packages, but it's not always the case. And even when that is the case, I mean, why is that two people live together and work together? Why partnerships are created in the first place is to ease pressure, financially. That's not the only reason, but one of the benefits, I suppose, of being coupled up is the fact that you get sometimes two incomes in one household. And if it's not two incomes, the other person is playing a role that would ordinarily have required money. So, for example, stay-at-home moms, where the husband goes to work, or sometimes it's the reverse, actually, the husband stays home with the kids and does the school run and the homework and things like that. Well, the missus goes off to 9 to 5 or, entrepreneurship or whatever the situation is, but you get my drift, right? So that void sometimes is capitalized on by other people. Unfortunately, take advantage of that fact and you end up in a mess, right? So that's where I talked about kissing frogs. And I ended that section by saying, in terms of the you're not good enough battle that I fight with myself in the mirror, and I won, by the way, being unshakable means refusing to settle, not for frogs, not for subpar treatment. So I went on to talk about parenthood. So I've called it Parenthood the Unshakable Way. So, okay, it's not that long. I'll just read it. Yeah, bear with me. Raising kids as a single parent, that's a masterclass in resilience, I said. Playing the dual role of mom and dad, I've learned to navigate football matches with my signature red and black manicured nails and matching red lipstick. My son's side eye could mean, "Mother, seriously?" Or maybe he's secretly impressed that I can chant Arsenal hooligan songs. And let's not forget the math of single income household. I've already talked about that actually, when numbers simply don't add up. I clung to faith and whispered prayers, promising my kids that their lives would embody the mantra, nothing broken, nothing incomplete. So that is a phrase that I've used quite a lot. Reference to my kids. So when people say, it's always best to have a mom and a dad, how do you fill the void of there not being a dad? Well, first of all, I have a brother. I have the other men in the family, friends who are guys that I can kind of refer to as father figures if needed. But mostly I said that my kids will never lack by virtue of the fact that the dad isn't present in the household. Nothing broken, nothing incomplete is, these are words that I've spoken out loud several times and in several situations where I have been begging God to help me in my imperfection to get through this parenting thing as a singleton. So being unshakable isn't about perfect parenting. It's about turning beans on toast into a Michelin star experience or convincing the kids that it is. It's about feeding the 5,000 with 5 fish and a loaf and somehow making 2 + 2 = 5. More often than not, these meals are like Michelin star moments, the impossible stretched to possible, and miracles showed up in unexpected ways. Being unshakable is the art of willing magic into the mundane every single day. In terms of willing magic into the mundane, what I tend to do every year is, let me start by saying, my son's birthday is on the 4th of January. And the problem with that is everyone's exhausted from Christmas and New Year. Everyone exhausted, the celebration and the food. You know what December is like, right? It's a crazy month. Christmas and New Year, nobody knows what day of the week it is. So by the 4th, everyone's still trying to recover. Everyone is slowly realizing this is Monday and I have to go to work and this is the routine, because all routines had gone out the window initially, right? And then financially, people always say that January is the longest month of the year. I understand what that means. For this reason, I have mostly been quite irritated by the commercialization of Christmas. It irritates me because I feel like the spirit is taken over by a need to impress. So social media has the matching pajamas and the big grand presents and things like that, unveiling of the present and the Christmas tree. And I feel like it puts pressure on people who don't have these things to, make people go broke because of Christmas. I just think it's ridiculous. In more recent years, I've toned it down. And I think initially I used to think that my kids were lacking something by virtue of the fact that it couldn't always be like this grand, what have you. But it's more about togetherness now and doing meaningful things. So leading on from meaningful things, his birthday is on the 4th of January. So what I tend to do is I tend to make sure I secure him a pass of some sort to the Arsenal game at the Emirates. So whatever the first game is, I endeavor. I think since he was 4, I've done this actually, and for the most part, or was it 3? I think I'll ask him in a second. For the most part, I've been successful, so we've done it. So today is a Sunday. This article is coming out today, and I'm going to the Emirates with Kare. Let's see if Gen Z shows up and says hello. Yeah. This is my baby. Kare, what game are we watching today? Who's playing?
Arsenal against Man United.
Ooh, that's a big one, no?
Yeah, it's a cup game, so...
What does that mean? What does it mean, cup game?
It's an FA Cup game.
So, yeah, it's a big one today. Do you think we'll win?
Hopefully.
Yeah? Okay, all right. Are you happy to go to the Emirates?
Yeah.
Have we done it every single year?
Yeah, we've done it since I was a child, really. So.
4, I think. You were,
Yeah,
was
about
it
then.
3 or 4? Remember?
I'm not quite sure.
I have to dig up some photos. Do you have any photos? I have a couple, but not many. Not all.
No, not from a long time ago.
Okay, all right, yeah. Okay, all right. Yeah. So that was nice. That was my baby. Not such a baby anymore. He's 17 now. Okay, so now. Yeah, so Carrie and I are heading to the Emirates shortly, and I'll be back with photos to let you know how it went and all of that. So yeah. This was awful. Harry,
Oh shit, you get shit.
what do you think?
I'm done with this manager now.
On our way home now. That's all he ever does, just waves. Mum and son bonding day. So I moved on to Unpolished Truth. And I've said, changing a light bulb, learning DIY, these were not skills I cared for, absolutely not. But I figured it out one way, if not another. Not because I'm independent, but because I'm determined. I never sat in darkness, nor were shells stacked in a corner. Call it hope, call it ingenuity, or simply call it unshakable. Basically, I'm useless basically at DIY stuff. What I was trying to say in here is that somehow I've made it work. So some of these skills I have had to learn, and others, do you know, I've paid for it to be done. Do you know, it's not that deep, right? If I can't, and where I haven't paid, I've begged, I've offered food for DIY services, and you know, it's one way or another. Basically, you have to survive, right? So yeah, that's what I've done. So, and I said, and the bridges I've burnt, some intentionally, some regrettably, are another testament to this mindset. While a few deserved every spark of their destruction, savage, others left me second guessing. Yet acknowledgement and growth, that is unshakable. So what I was trying to say is that I suppose over time you burn bridges, right? And you know, you're not in doing that. You're not always perfect. So sometimes you are the toxic person. Is what I read somewhere, and that was so true. There were some moments where you probably don't even know you're going through all of these negative things, and you end up doing silly things, you know, and you are the one who's hurt people. So I've tried to learn to be the one to make the first move and say, I'm sorry, you know, I'm sorry that this happened, and you know, but for others, I'm like, I'd be damned if I even, do you know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't care less if I never saw this person again for the rest of my life. And, you know, it is what it is, right? Next heading, risks and rewards. And I said, my career path is a patchwork quilt of detours, reroutes, and sacrifices. I've been the biggest risk taker I know, because in the end, I refuse to leave stones unturned. This is not about a flawless journey. It's about an honest one. What I mean by that is I'm trained as a barrister, right? So I'm called to the UK bar, but I'm non-practicing. So I suppose when I was a baby lawyer, I would have needed some sort of support. This is where the single income household thing comes in, that I was talking about earlier. If I had the support of another income coming in, so like for like a husband, I would have been able to grow that career even more. But I had to make quick decisions at that time. I had to think outside the box, and I somehow I ended up in project management, not because I wanted to. I missed the courtroom, I missed the drama of that, but I had to do what I had to do, right? And project management is a skill I randomly, I taught myself B. I just kind of found myself in, is the skill set I had based on other skills that I had formed in childhood and when my start out career. So I did a lot of admin stuff. Initially, when I migrated to the UK, it was quite young. When I started working office jobs in my very early 20s, 19 I think, 20, I'd gone to typing school in Nigeria. So then, I think they're called admin positions in office, required typing speed. So that was a strength that I capitalized on. So, and then the admin, and then so basically governance came into it somehow or the other, and there were transferable skills. So I managed to take that into project management, and I ended up in financial services. And from there, I started to, by virtue of my legal background, I did a lot of regulatory work. So do you see what I mean? Like one thing led to another. And the thing about me is I had to always find a way to be resourceful. So the resourcefulness led me to that. So yes, that's actually how I would label the 9 to 5 aspect of what I do. Project management, regulation, governance, that line. So careers have merged in a sense, but not so much. I've been talking to my friend Jackie, who's a barrister, and there's a likelihood that I will return fully now, especially I'm a partial empty nester now. Maybe when there isn't such a big requirement for a 9 to 5 paycheck or something. I don't know, whatever. I will return to it at some point is what I'm trying to say. And then I go on to talk about the heart of unshakable. I think controversial one coming up. King Sally is not a statement of gender or superiority. It's a title that encapsulates my journey. It's about surviving depression and anxiety. It's about life as a marathon, not a sprint. It's about taking steps even when your feet are blistered and the road ahead is shrouded in darkness. It's about hope. Right, okay, so this is a title I've given to myself. So quite often you see me refer to myself as King Sally, and you don't get that on the options for, when you're filling out a form and you get Miss, Mrs, whatever, I like to do that as a joke when I go out and they're saying to me, Tizika, and I'm like, God, there's no king, because that is my title. And people looking at me like, oh, okay, all right, what's she on about? But but like I've said here, it's not about superiority or that I feel superior to anyone or that I'm trying to claim that I can do stuff better than a man or I deserve a man's title. It's not about that. It's just a feeling I have inside of me about things that I've conquered. So it's my way of just saying I'm proud of myself. And I could be a queen, yeah, but I just feel like there's nothing conventional about what I have been through. So it's nothing to do with superiority and everything to do with the fact that it's unconventional, is different, and is my way of saying I am a conqueror and a warrior. I am unshakable. So I finish by saying I'm unshakable. A prisoner of hope is another phrase that I like to use a lot. So yes, a prisoner of hope, unshakable. So I finish by saying, and I quite like this little bit I say, so here I am taking a bow, not just for what I've endured, but for creating a way of life that celebrates imperfection and resilience. This is not about wearing the unshakable merchandise. It's about embodying the mindset. Together, let's chant it, let's live it, let's become it. And I finish with my motto, which you know and which I will finish with. So basically that's it. I thought I'd give you a rundown of Unshakable and and what it is. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it gave you more of an insight into what these podcasts are like. They're a bit random. So what I've called the first chunk that I did the introductory bit, season 1. Season 2 was about friendship. I'm trying to think about what season 3 might be. I don't know. But I thought I'd chuck in this random episode because it just fits nicely into everything. Plus, it's just a good day for it. I'm off to the Emirates, so I got some inspiration. Thank you for sticking by me. Please, if you haven't done so already, subscribe, like, share, follow me on this random journey of self-discovery, and let's just live life together. So Unshakable is a lifestyle, yeah? Like I said in the beginning, it's a vibe. The hype is real. Hop on board. It's some sort of movement. And I think it's beginning to attract a bit of attention, which I like, positive attention. Hope is that I'm able to spread this message where it's mostly needed, where people are looking for a safe space to just be, because that's what Unshakable is. It just lets you breathe, lets you just be whoever you are. You are loved, you're accepted, you're unique, and you're beautiful for that fact. And we're celebrating you as an individual, if that makes sense. I hope it does. So I'll finish here. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I shall see you next time. And you know the motto, Unshakable is a state of mind. Take your state of mind with you everywhere you go. Be unshakable. Be in truth with yourself. Love yourself. Thank you. See you next time. Bye.